Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for all coming today to our August meeting of the Inland SoCal Housing Collective, just general meeting. Today we have two speakers that are going to come and talk about two separate things. But first we have some folks from Coral Reef Development. We have Chris Lockwood, who will be presenting and co-presenting with Romulo De Leon. And they're going to just talk about the sustainable development and innovative technology that Coral Reef Development is using. So, Chris, if you want to go ahead and share screen, you could get started.
Hello, everybody. This is Romulo De Leon. I hope everybody's doing absolutely fantastic today. So I just will give a brief overview as to the company, who we are, what we do. Basically, our company, we specialize in cutting-edge sustainable innovations for housing and commercial developments. We use light gauge steel structures, which we integrate atmospheric water generators for fresh drinking water, gray water recycling, intermittent paint for wildfire protection, solar panels for green energy, and EV charging stations. Our eco-conscious technologies create resilience, harmonious, and positive lifestyle while addressing climate change. So we are here trying to build a sustainable future. So our sustainable and climate resilient solutions, we are positioning ourselves to be on the forefront of climate change. Next. Our mission is to pioneer cutting-edge international and multidisciplinary initiative. We're working with many different countries. We're working right now with Panama. We're working with Indonesia. We're working with many countries right now, Costa Rica included, addressing different initiatives and systems that may be available through innovative, sustainable technologies. Our mission is to offer eco-conscious solutions for individuals seeking harmonious lifestyle, because it's all about the lifestyle at the end of the day. So by fostering local employment opportunities in the local areas where we are, community growth, and facilitating environmental sound business investment, we aim to catalyze lasting positive change. And that's basically the big mission that we have. And we're making this a movement. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen these images. One, when building with wood, there's a lot of waste at the end of the construction, and that is not environmentally sound. We're seeing hurricanes like we just saw just happen, and it's happening as we're speaking in some areas. We're seeing homelessness. And all these things, many of it, part of it, in great part, is because of climate change. So we've seen an increased risk of extreme weather damage. Climate change has amplified the frequency and severity of extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, floods, wildfires, and storms, posing a significant risk to housing and commercial construction. The next thing it is affecting is the impact on agriculture. And we in California, if you go further north, you know, we have all these agricultural areas. Climate change affects agricultural productivity through changes in temperatures, precipitation patterns, and the frequency of extreme weather events. This can lead to crop failure, reduction in yield, and increased pest and disease pressures. And we see them when we see all these recalls on lettuce and these other things. For those of you that do grocery shopping, I'm sure you have heard many of these, and this is a result. That is a result of this. The economic cost of climate change in the US is substantial. It's into the billions of dollars at this moment, including damages to infrastructure, property, and natural resources, as well as increased healthcare expense and loss of productivity. Keep in mind, Hawaii still haven't been able to build. They have built less than a dozen houses a year later. Many of these people are suffering substantially and became overnight homeless in one of the beautiful places like Hawaii, and that is one of many examples. So addressing climate change through mitigation and adaptation measures can help reduce these costs in the long term. Now, the insurance costs. Many of you already know that in Topanga Canyon and many other areas right here in Southern California, if you can get insurance, it's exceedingly expensive and you cannot even renew your current insurance policy. Many of these insurance companies have even left the state. So insuring homes in climate vulnerable areas is becoming more expensive, and the frequency and severity of climate-related events increase, leading to higher insurance premiums or no coverage for homes for some homeowners. Next. Now, we will start with the smallest of our products and we'll finish with the housing projects that we have and that we're working on. So we have products such as in our climate preparedness products, the earthquake shutoff valve, that at a 5.4 magnitude seismic event, it will shut off the gas valve. Keep in mind, we just recently had an earthquake, and today we have had multiple aftershocks. Many of you probably have felt it. You can put on the news later and check it out, but that is something that happened today. So this is something that is very useful because most houses still have gas. The new regulations now are forcing everybody new construction to be electric, but most of us still have gas lines at home. The intermittent fire paint. This system is the first and the only system that complies with all the IWUI codes, both for weatherizing and fire test standard. It is eco-friendly, non-toxic, and easy to apply. And basically, with all the wildfires, as we're speaking, we have wildfires up north and in Canada, and up north here in California. If God forbid, if you live in a wildfire area and you have this on your house, your neighbors, God forbid, houses may burn, but yours will not be touched. This is a wonderful, wonderful product, especially for us in California. We do not get hurricanes, so we are not in that universe, as in the people in Florida, for instance. But in our case, earthquakes and fires is in our wheelhouse. Next. Now, we're working with the country of Indonesia. Many of you perhaps know that the capital of Indonesia, Jakarta, is being moved because of climate migration, because of climate change. Just for you to have an idea, think of moving the whole entire city of Long Beach or the whole entire city of Los Angeles and moving it to the Inland Empire. Everything that is there, the church, the house, the school, the post office, and everybody need to move. That is what's happening in Jakarta. They get exceeding large amount of flooding. So they're working with one of our systems, and this is the system that they're working with, which is the Smart Water Saver. And we have the Smart Soil and the Smart Layer. So basically, is a non-toxic, biodegradable, smart material for agricultural, foresting, horticulture, and gardening use, as well as for flooding. This product is capable of absorbing water 200 times. I said 200 times its weight on contact. With water, the water turns into a gel, becomes the polymer, okay? And you can store this water for up to 40 days. In the case of Indonesia, they wanted to cover it with plastic so it do not evaporate because of the high heat and humidity there, and maybe freeze it because they only have 2 seasons, rain seasons and dry season. And when it dry, it's drought dry, and when it rain, it's flood type rain. So with this, they're able to capture the water, save the water, and transport it to areas that need water during the dry season. What this does is that when the rain comes, it keeps absorbing the water instead of using sandbags, which is basically a old technology if you're using sandbags. Okay, what this does is that as it filled up with the water become a gel. Is about 10 kilos, about 20 pounds. Now anyone can lift it. Think of a pillowcase that is a gel. You can transport it now, for example, to an agricultural area. You can mix that polymer, which is the water in a gel form, in with the soil, and now once you plant your produce, let's say lettuce, to say whatever product, you do not have to water it for 3 to 6 months. The plant's roots will automatically absorb the nutrients and the water from it, and now you do not have to water it. This allows farmers to be able, currently the farmers in California are only using 1/3 of their farm because of limitations of water. This is public information. This will allow them to increase the area of farming, still using the existing water they have, but taking advantage of the transportation of flood or rainwater from other areas. The smart soil also works in the same way. We have it in different colors for some people, maybe the ladies here on the call. If you want to do this in your garden, you want it to be colorific with red and yellow and purple and blue to probably go with your eyes or your dress or the building. This allowed to do so, and in a smart soil, you do not have to water it too long or too much, and it will do the same. So these are water saver technology that we have. Next. Now, in terms of atmospheric water generators and gray water recycling, our atmospheric water generator can make water from the air, from the atmosphere, turning it into the purest, cleanest alkaline drinking water. We can produce from 4 to 1,500 gallons a day of clean, fresh drinking water. This is important because we have many applications, residential, commercial, military, for state, local governments, etc. But the importance here, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that this is a great need in many areas. We have areas, for instance, like Santa Paula and other areas that you cannot drink or cook with the water out of the faucet right now as we're speaking, and many areas in the US. We have a lot of areas that you cannot build an additional ADU because there's a restriction in the amount of water. So with that said, this is an opportunity for areas that have limitations on water or restrictions on water or just don't have water at all, or if you just want to drink clean, fresh, pure water that have never touched the ground. We have also the gray water recycling, which allow you to reuse between 25 to 45% of the water you already paid for and that you already use. This is water that already you have used, whether in your shower or in the kitchen, and now you can recycle that and use it for anything except drinking. Water your lawn. Now you can have beautiful green lawn in the middle of the desert, and everybody's thinking you have a mirage. How are you doing it? So you're not touching the water that is new, you're reusing the water that you already use, making it an eco-friendly and sustainable solution for homes and commercial spaces. Next. We also have the EV charging stations. Needless to say, I think we're in California, everyone here, so we're preaching to the choir. As we all know, they're going to stop manufacturing gasoline and diesel cars very soon, and everything is going electric. So we have the EV charging stations, okay, for either for residential all the way for business application. We have the DC fast charging, inclusive of charge that reduce installation costs, modular design, easy to service, and you can charge 2 vehicles simultaneously, and it's available in 5, 750, 100 volts and 1,000 volts. This is good also for our car dealerships, companies that have fleets. Some companies or some commercial areas or buildings will put it in their parking lot, or if it's an apartment building, residential or commercial. In some cases, they allow it for free. You just charge, and when you're charged, you're out and go. In some areas, they want it to be another profit center where you can swipe your credit card. One of the reasons why the credit card is becoming more popular is because those of you that on this call that perhaps have a EV car, an electric vehicle, you know that when you go and charge, you may have somebody in front charging, and then they come out of the car, go shopping, and an hour later, even though the car was charged, it took 20 minutes to charge, they took an hour to come back. By you charging them, in 20 minutes, they'll be running to be able to move their car. So this is applicable for hotels, it's applicable for apartment buildings, applicable for any commercial area that have a parking. And it's applicable for any residential areas as well, even for your own private use in your little garage for your one car, or for office buildings, like I said. Next. We also have solar panel and battery storage, both for residential, rooftops, commercial, and industrial. And utility grade, this is mainly for manufacturing and municipalities and others. These are made, every product that we have spoke to about here is all made in America, made in the USA. So these are made right here in Southern California. So we're promoting the local businesses as well and all the made in America products. So these are all robotics, as you can see here on the diagram of the factory, a picture. And we see here that we can produce any type or any amount of solar panels. There's always inventory. They're manufactured right there. You can go pick it up the next day. One of the advantages of buying American and buying these solar panels here is because you probably know that the Biden administration increased tariff up to 300% for everything that is coming from China. That means those that currently do have inventory of solar panels in their warehouses when they bought it from China, when that inventory is depleted, their next purchase to China will be probably more expensive than buying locally. So they will eventually have to end up buying American for all the incentive and benefits that Buy America offers at this moment. Next. Now we're getting into the sweet spot for some of you guys, which is in housing. Currently, we're working on many different projects. We're working on a project of a student homes in Lancaster for Miramar, California Miramar University that is down in San Diego. And they need some student homes, and we're already working on those projects. We're working on an ADU in Altadena, that's in the Pasadena area. We're working in Inglewood, on Crenshaw. We're working with Indonesia, as I think I mentioned earlier. We're working with Amos Temple, with the church there on Iris Avenue in Riverside. We're working on an affordable mixed-use project that is there in downtown Riverside, that is on First between Market and Main. We are in proposal mode right now with the city. We're waiting just for final review. So we are working right now on multiple different projects. But with that said, let me just here touch bases a little bit. So we have two different systems. We have the modular and volumetric housing production factory, and we have the hybrid modular pre-designed homes. So our mission is to deliver innovative housing solutions that empower property owners and developers alike. We are focused on creating value from homeowners to cities, reduce the housing shortage, and forging a future where having a sustainable home is no longer the exception. So in the volumetric and the modular and volumetric, if you're building, example for this conversation, an apartment building, it is all built in a factory. Traditional construction using wood, and I will make a parenthesis and explain why we're not using no type of wood framing. Keep in mind that we are traditionally old school, have been using wood because it was inexpensive and fast and easy to get. Most of the wood that we use in the United States, or in our case, California, come from Canada. But Canada, like California and Colorado and other places, have had massive amount of wildfires, and all those trees have been burned. So we have been planting new trees that grow fast, but because they grow fast, they're young trees, and then we try to mill them so we can use them for construction, but they're still moist. And once exposed to heat, like for instance in the Inland Empire, it starts to crack, turn, and it attracts a lot of pests, organic pests, very quickly. So that's why new construction 2, 3, 4 years later, brand new house, now you have to reinvest in doing renovations and upgrades and doing a lot of retrofits. So we built, for instance, an apartment building as an example in the factory. Go back to the previous slide, please. And if you notice the second picture there with the gentleman going in, that's one apartment, for instance. That apartment is built in the factory. Eventually, you will see as we progress how it's all put together. But we can build from 200 square feet ADU all the way to 11 stories. Next to it, you will see on the hybrid modular pre-designed homes, where you can build from ADUs to single family residence, duplexes, fourplexes, with a system. This is more for the individual small investor or the mom and pop, Okay, the previous ones is for developers, which are apartment buildings. And in these cases, the old house, we can use your drawings that you currently have, the plans you have, or you can use one of our pre-designed ones that we'll talk about further down in this presentation. And we can build these for you you can build it on the site. It will be built entirely in the factory and you put it together on site there. Now, next. Now, if you can see here, the difference of building with our the program or projects or systems rather, is that it's 40% faster to build than with conventional build. The efficiency in land, we can increase density in the development. You can build more on a smaller lot. It reduces weather impact because it is built in a factory, so you're not affected by the weather, whether it's rain or excessive heat, and the potential cost saving because by building faster, you're reducing your labor costs, lower operating costs, lower financial costs, etc. So if you notice on the bottom left, blue and white, you'll see the apartment buildings being arrived at the site. The second picture next to it is being put together. The third picture next to it is almost completed. And the fourth picture, the last one, lower right, is the apartment building pretty much almost finished, just need to be wrapped. Next slide.
And this is on Vermont Avenue, correct? In LA?
Yes, correct. Yeah, this one is on Vermont Avenue and 110, exactly at the corner of Vermont and 110 in LA. Next. These are some of we have streamlined the permitting process. These are 7 models that are already approved in the Department of Building and Safety. So you can get, if you choose any one of these, then you are fast tracking your permitting process. Keep in mind our EDUs are beautiful, they're high ceiling, they're very spacious, they are wonderful, and they are very, very eco-friendly. Next. These are some completed projects. If you go to Holiday Inn and Suites, there in Colorado in Glendale, you can see in the lower left what has been built, and the upper right is the complete hotel. You can go there, spend the night, have some coffee. You can go visit, so you can take a look. Next. If you're in San Diego, the Marriott Hotel, if you go down on Fifth Avenue in downtown San Diego, you will be able to see the Marriott Hotel, also built with this system. Next. On the financing, one of the first things that we did, and Chris is the one behind the financing, basically, was the first thing that we decided to do because we know that all projects stop at financing. If you don't have financing, everything stops. So we have construction loans for residential and commercial. We have the sustainable tech financing for all the sustainable products we have now and those that we keep adding. We have financing for land acquisition, for import-export financing. This is with the Exim Bank, the Export-Import Bank of the federal government. So that's why we can work with Indonesian and other overseas, because the federal government, this is a bank owned by the federal government, Exim Bank, and they will finance up to 80% of the customer as long as they buy US product from a US company overseas. If they're overseas and they use our product, we can finance through Exim Bank. We have federal and state fundings, tax rebates, deductions, and deferrals, faith-based organizations financing, specifically for church and faith-based groups. We do factoring for companies that already have a purchase order but don't have the money. For instance, they have a purchase order to supply desks for the school, but the school going to pay them, the school district pay them in 60 days, and they don't have the money to buy the desk right now. If they have a purchase order, we can do the financing of that. The real estate business purpose loan, multifamily acquisition financing, and non-profit services available as well. Technology, as we know, everything is coming into technology. So we have included AI in many of our things for the reports, for analytics reports, financial transaction processing, software development, mainly for those that are in the multifamily business, that they want these reports to be done in a very fast mode and efficient way. Next. Because we built our system and our housing in a factory, these has to be moved somehow Right now, there is 150 units built, apartment building in Montana and another one in New Jersey that the factory is doing. And they're transporting these apartment buildings all the way to Montana and New Jersey. So we have created the relationships with this logistic company that we can do air freight solution, ocean freight, cross trading, inland transportation in this case with Montana and New Jersey, warehouse and distribution, gas tank logistics, purchase order management, and project cargo. Next. So with that, I know that, yeah, I know it's a mouthful. I want to thank all of you guys for your time, but we are a sustainable company and all of our projects are along those ways. So if you guys know of anyone that have land that they want to develop, or they have a project they want to do, or they want to build ADUs or anything along those lines, or they just want to be able to have an atmospheric water generator to be able to have fresh drinking water in the house, let us know either directly to our website or email info@Coral Reef, the letter D for development, the letter G for group.com. Maybe Chris can put our information in the group chat there for we want to have it, and 800 number. That way you guys can reach out if you have questions, if you have projects, if you have anything that you need, and we'll be happy to oblige and assist. And I want to take this time to open up for any questions anybody may have. No questions, I guess?
No,
I got a question.
Yeah, Davina, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. I mean, I'm like containing my excitement, but not really. I love this so much. Thank you again for speaking. My question is really, are you looking to do more work in the IE? Because from what I'm aware, you're based in LA. So are you looking to do more work? And then are you looking to just like what are you looking to do in the IE and like the scale?
Well, in the IE, all the expansion of housing and commercial development, everything is going towards the east, towards the IE. Okay, Riverside is becoming the IE Beverly Hills, so to speak, and everything on the surroundings is developing as well. You know, regardless of where you go. The only thing that I see, and this is my personal view, the only drawback that IE brings is the excessive heat and the increase of heat that is forthcoming. So with that in mind, we have to keep building it with the future ahead of us. We just do, okay, this is cheaper. Let's go build this. Let's call it an ADU for anything cheaper. So you're going to save me $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it is cheaper. But then in a year from now, you have to be rebuilding. Okay, if you build in a hurricane area, a year from now, you have to build a brand new ADU because it's been blown off its foundation. So if we build already knowing in advance, you know what, wherever you live in the United States, pick your disaster area, whether it's earthquake, hurricane, tornadoes, whatever. In our case, we are fire and earthquake, in our case in California. Okay, if we're in Miami, I'll be saying something different. I'll be saying hurricane and flooding. But and now we also having flooding. We had tornado, which have never happened, okay, before in right here in Carson and another place. We don't have tornadoes in California. We had tornadoes in California. This is public information. Anyone can look it up. So the climate change is changing all over the place. If we build with that in mind, and if we bring products in our homes, the idea is to be able to live and survive with the new normal, if that makes sense. And so our idea for the Inland Empire, the IE, is to be able to help as many people as possible expand there and be able to build. There's a lot of available land there, for instance. The reason we have a 200 square feet ADU is because when the factory that we contract with started to do ADUs, they only focus on West LA. And you can literally sneeze in your kitchen and your neighbor will hear you because the backyard is really, really small. Okay, so they has so small ADUs that are still nice and comfortable. So if there are people out there that wants to expand or wants to build, we're looking for salespeople as well, people that are interested in being out there. I'm happy to entertain all of this. So yes, we really want to expand in the entire IE. Did I
Awesome.
answer your question? I hope I did.
Yes, sir. Can I ask another follow-up question, Melanie?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, Melanie, I don't know.
Yeah, so just to make a note, we probably have like 2 minutes, and I know Jay has a question too.
Okay, go ahead.
So if maybe Zanina, can you throw that in the chat?
I
Your
will.
question, and
Yeah,
then
I'll answer it in the chat, and then Jay, you can ask your question to Romulo.
All right. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for the presentation. I'd love to see a lot of the production of these various units coming into the Inland Empire, as Savina mentioned here, but also looking at what was recently announced with the project that Costco is doing, I believe in LA County, where they're bringing in about 700 or 800 housing units in the same footprint that they are building a new Costco's facility, because we're having challenges all around when we're bringing a lot of industrial commercial development into a region, but not bringing the required housing in to support the workforce. And so looking at how we could do that here in the IE a lot better than what has happened in Orange County and LA.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Thank you for the question also. And that's one of the things that we're doing. That's why we have created strategic partnerships. One of the things that we have done, all the products that we have, we deal only with the factory in order to be able to keep costs low. And one of the reasons being is because these are new technologies, and when it first come out, it tend to be a little expensive. So that's why we want to make sure we take advantage of all the different grants and things of that nature. But what we are seeing, what you're seeing with Costco, you're seeing it happening all over. And that's one of the things we want to be able to partner up with other businesses and with other organizations there in the IE to bring similar idea in terms of edifications of affordable housing, not only for low income and affordable housing, but for everybody as a whole. So we want to make sure that we focus though on those that need the most at this moment, and that will be affordable housing, and be able to bring the commercial component to it, because that helps increase also economic growth in the community and in the area. One thing that we would like to do, and I take advantage of this conversation, is to maybe have a conversation with you and Bank On. Let's see, because we do financing, perhaps we can work with you and putting together some kind of financing program. Perhaps you can leave your information in the chat for Chris. He's our director of finance, and perhaps we can work together in building up the Inland Empire.
Sounds
like
great.
A plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you. And yes, and Chris is an integral partner of our wealth building and preservation stuff. So we're appreciative of you sourcing Chris and letting him contribute to the IE collective and leading out that pillar for us. So and that work. So I'm going to pivot right now and give our second. So Romulo, I want to thank you so much. I think a lot of people are excited, especially about the sustainability aspects you bring with Coral Reef Development. So, we look forward. I know that you guys have had some work and some more recent stuff in Riverside County happening, and we're excited to see you guys in this space. And so I want to just take a minute, and we'll just pivot now. Again, thank you, and we'll transition into our next speaker.
Thank you.
And if he wants to, Mark, if you want to get your presentation up, you should be able to do so. So today we have, again, we're taking a pivot, but I've had to reschedule Mark because of my bad of rescheduling and so many speakers lined up, but I've been super excited about the work that Mark is doing at Loma Linda University Health, and some of the work around addressing the medical debt crisis. And we see this direct correlation, obviously, because debt correlates to housing stability, And this is a really great program. I mean, Loma Linda is an anchor, medical institution here in the IE. And so we're grateful for their leadership in this space. And so, Mark, if you want to go ahead and share screen.
Yes, thank you, Melanie and Jay and Inland SoCal Housing Collective for the invitation and for having us be a part of this. Are you all able to see the presentation here? Perfect. Awesome. Well, today's presentation, as Melanie mentioned, is centered on addressing the medical debt crisis. Today's presentation, we're going to cover kind of 4 distinct topics here. One, I kind of want to set the stage on the scale of medical debt. So looking at statistics both nationally and in California, just to understand the scope of the problem. 2, give a little bit of an introduction on charity care and what that is and how it can really help low-income families. 3, our solution to try to address the issues with medical debt and the problems that it caused for our families. And in specifically speaking, our solution centered around partnerships. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then ways that we can all get involved, whether we know somebody who has been affected with medical debt currently or formerly. We know that it's a big problem not only in our region, but nationally because of the cost of healthcare. And so hopefully this can be something that can be a useful resource, whether sharing it directly with someone you know that's affected or helping us get the word out for those that may be experiencing this. And so jumping into some of the national statistics here, there was a study done by the Peterson Center on Healthcare that nationally found approximately $220 billion is the estimated amount that people in the US owe in medical debt. They also found that 41% of adults carry healthcare debt in some sort of manner that they found through their surveying. And this could correlate either directly through the hospital and the collections, what families have sometimes put on credit cards because they feel like they have to, or perhaps owed to family members who may have lent them money in order to pay for medical care expenses. They also found that LMI individuals are more likely to have medical debt. And so when looking at the study as well, they found, unsurprisingly, that LMI adults are those who are more likely to have medical debt. As we can see here, those 200% below or 199% below the federal poverty level, 11% of those were those who have a share of adults who have medical debt. Another 10%, 399% below the federal poverty level. And this 21% constitutes a group that with most nonprofit hospitals, as well as some for-profit hospitals as well, would qualify for financial assistance and charity care. So we see, those who are most unable to pay are the most adversely affected and are also those who would qualify under most financial assistance policies. Switching gears a little bit to California, there was another study done by the California Healthcare Foundation that also shed light on some kind of more concerning pieces from an overall health and wellness standpoint in our region. They found that 53% of Californians said that they skipped care due to the cost. And this increases to 74% for those who are LMI individuals. And we know that there are a lot of issues in not getting seen early, especially for larger scale health conditions or problems. And so, those who choose not to receive care may have worsened outcomes or needing additional care when things get worse. In California specifically, they found about 38% of Californians carry some sort of medical debt, this affecting 52% of those who are in low-income households. And then they found 28% report having trouble paying medical bills, and this number increases to 46% of LMI individuals. So again, a big problem both nationally as well as in California. There are also negative impacts of medical debt, broadly speaking. The County of LA did a study last summer, June of 2023, and they found that those that carried medical debt were, as you can see here, 2.5 times more likely to be food insecure, 3 times more likely to delay or forego needed healthcare. As we mentioned in the previous slide, of those who are just are afraid to go get care just because of the cost. 3.5% times more likely to delay or forego prescriptions. And then as it pertains to, housing stability, building wealth, all of the things that really matter in our that we discuss heavily in these work groups, we see that 3.5 times more likely to be unstably housed while carrying medical debt. And so there are a lot of issues beyond just carrying the debt that really impact, a lot of our families' ability to put food on the table and secure housing opportunities and get the care that they need. And so here comes a potential solution that's built into our system to be that, but unfortunately falls short in a lot of instances, and that's charity care. Charity care is mandated in the Affordable Care Act, where nonprofit hospitals must reduce or waive bills for lower income patients. And so this goes for a lot of major hospitals in our region that are nonprofits, whether Loma Linda University Health, Kaiser, Dignity Health, a lot of others as well. But even for-profit hospitals have financial assistance policies. It's not mandated by the Affordable Care Act in the same way, but most also have their own policies to help low-income patients. And so this program exists. It should be accessible and available, but it's usually not. And so there are kind of 3 key areas in which, or challenges that come with charity care. One being that it's not widely known, or if you do know about it, you don't really know the details of it. And so a lot of folks who are eligible don't receive information about charity care, or don't know about it, or don't know where to find it, or have trouble researching it, and so they don't apply. And if you don't apply, it's not going to be most of the time awarded. And so it's a resource there that's available that not a lot of people either know about or know how to access. 2, it's not very easy. There's quite a bit of documentation that has to be submitted, which can take extensive time and effort. And so we know this can be really burdensome for LMI families. I mean, thinking of single parent households or those that have to work multiple jobs. When you have an unexpected health complication or unexpected medical bill, and you're trying to put food on the table, the last thing that you can easily do is go through an extensive application, research if you qualify, scan in documentation on pay stubs and tax returns. It's just not at the forefront of your mind or easily available. And so it's just not easy to do. And then lastly, is it's not fair for the most part. We often see applications are often denied because of incomplete documentation. And the other reason that it's challenging is that there is no universal mandate or policy that says every single hospital has to have the same policy. So I could get care at Loma Linda, I could get care, at St. Bernardine's, I could get care at a variety of different hospitals in our region, and may not be under the same financial assistance policies. They can be slightly different. They can request different documentation. The levels for income might be different. And so again, this isn't something when we're choosing to receive care, oftentimes we go to the closest hospital or those that, we get recommendations from. And so, it can be really challenging to know what sort of financial assistance exists. And you may not be thinking right off the bat when you have an ailment, I'm going to go to this one because they have a better financial assistance policy or, things of that nature. And it's not universal. So they're all slightly different, might require different documentation. And so our solutions around this problem are to address those three key challenges. And it's something we've really been thinking about. As a healthcare system, we are I think especially as a faith-based healthcare system, with the mission and priority of making man whole, is thinking about not only the health of our patients within the hospital system, but what happens when they go home. And if we're sending them home with large bills that they're either not supposed to be, liable for, or are causing undue harms in that realm, how can we help address that problem? And so one thing that we're trying to do now with conversations such as these, as well as, social media posts, flyers, radio ads, is to really allow charity care to be more widely known and talked about, so that folks know that this is something that they can qualify for. And it's something that exists and that our nonprofit hospitals have to do for the community. Another way that we're trying to make this known is by partnering with local nonprofit organizations that are well known, that are trusted partners in the community. And we have partnered with El Sol Neighborhood Educational Center and are doing some grassroots outreach through community health workers. So we have some community health workers who are working with families directly to help spread this message. And even when we, created the initial partnership with El Sol and shared about financial assistance and charity care, a lot of them had family members or friends right off the bat that they knew would qualify based off the information that we had shared. Our second piece to address the issue is to make this as easy as possible. And so we are partnering with another nonprofit organization called $4, who has built a site that allows you to screen whether or not you're eligible for charity care. It's a really awesome eligibility tool that really asks you a handful of questions and you can do in less than 2 minutes. And it's really amazing because they've built in financial assistance policies from thousands of healthcare institutions across the nation. And so you can just put your information, which hospital, what the bill is, household size, and household income, and they'll let you know whether or not right off the bat are you eligible to apply for either full charity care or partial, depending on the policy and the hospital in which you carry that medical debt. And so it's a really easy, intuitive tool. You're able to see whether you're eligible before going through the full application process, saving time, energy. And so you'll know right off the bat whether or not that's something you should continue to pursue within a couple minutes. As well as the partnership, again, continues with El Sol, where we've actually trained community health workers who are helping families apply directly through the $4 platform. So what they're doing is they're working with families who are reaching out, who they're connected to when they're going out into the community, and they're actually helping them with the eligibility tool, seeing that they qualify, and then also helping them with the full application. So making sure that their applications are full, complete, and making that process as easy as possible with those who may either not have the devices, the technology, or the know-how of how to navigate the website. The third piece we're trying to address is to really make it fair. And so again, this site with $4 is helping us do that because regardless of the hospital in which you have the bill, you will know exactly what you will know whether you're eligible in a couple minutes. And then based upon the hospital you carry the bill, you will also know exactly what information they need to fill in the application, as well as what documentation is required. So again, super as easy as we can possibly make it, and they've built an amazing tool and an amazing website to do this work. And then again, the partnership with El Sol, our community health workers, the families that they're helping apply, they're following them through the entire continuum. So they're checking in, they're giving updates, they're making sure that from application to submission to forgiveness, they're there through the whole process. And there's that, level of support. And so our commitment as Loma Linda University Health is really to pilot this innovative partnership. This is the first sort of pilot of its kind across the nation. And it might seem a little odd or counterintuitive, right? Like, why is a healthcare system trying to help people receive, charity care and not have to pay for their bill when they leave the hospital? But what we're really focused on is those that, are families who are unable to pay. And who are not paying regardless, are getting sent to collections, are then having their credit scores affected. And it's not helping anyone. We're not collecting on that money. We are not helping the family in any way. And their credits, are adversely affected, as well as they're saddled with that, psychological debt that exists. And so it's really to provide an opportunity for families who we know are unable to pay, and who, this program is geared towards. So really protecting our lowest income patients. We also are trying to help reduce the administrative burden on our own hospital system. So the good thing about this is, again, often the applications that have been coming into our charity care, the team that reviews those applications are incomplete. So what a waste of time to review applications and then have to reach back out and say, no, sorry, you're missing this. So we're trying to reduce the administrative burden on the health system itself, saving time, energy, and money in that sense. And then it also helps increase reportable community benefit. So one of the things that we can report as community benefit is charity care. And so rather than having these bills go to bad debt and sit in bad debt, we can now redirect that to charity care and report that as community benefit because it really is, supporting our low-income families. Another piece that we have committed to doing is establishing a charity care task force, and this is more internal, but it's really meant to review our internal policies. Are we being compliant, accessible, and ensuring that we are protecting our LMI patients? And so that committee has started to meet to take a look at our own policies to make sure that we're not indirectly or inadvertently hurting our low-income families and LMI patients. And so how you all can help support this work. We recognize that, again, through partnerships, we can't do this work in a silo. We've partnered with two amazing nonprofit organizations that are really helping us move and advance this work. But there's, more that we can do. We know if we get other sectors and other groups involved. And one is really to helping us get the word out. We want as many people in the Inland Empire and our region to know about this, to know that that they may qualify for full or partial charity care, depending on their income level and family size. And so we, have marketing materials. We, are willing to provide education in whatever sort of work groups you may be working with. I know a lot of the banking partners do a lot of financial literacy work. If you want to ask or include, information around medical debt that maybe some of the families you're working with are dealing with, we can either connect them directly with our community health workers who can help them through the application continuum. We can provide marketing materials so that they know that this resource exists and is available. But yes, helping us get the word out is number one. Secondly, we're still looking for financial partnerships as well. We have enough funding to cover up through December 2024, but we're really looking to find additional funding partners for this work. And so whether it fits in anyone's interests or wheelhouse, whether with CRA or other outlets. We're looking to continue this work because, as I mentioned, it's a pilot, but we also recognize the magnitude of the problem and the need to be able to spread this message and continue to support families through that direct community health worker model. And lastly, just want to end with a quote from our partners, $4, who've done extensive research and live and breathe in this space. And they said, when patients get charity care, you are supporting lower stress levels, better health, improved food access, paying off other loans or bills, and saving for their financial goals. And so we see this really as an amazing multi-solver to really help our families so that, those that are holding on to medical debt that shouldn't be are able to have that, freed up, are able to not have their credit adversely affected, are able to use that money to save it towards, an emergency fund or a down payment for a house or, other savings goals and really be supported in that way. So that is all. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mark. I'll give you a second to look. I think Ayako left a question in the chat, which you can feel free to answer, or you can take a couple minutes to answer. But I think that there is a lot of interest in this and trying to draw maybe some flyers that the collective can push out to our collective, to the members, to the partners, just to share and what's the best point of access. And I'm even thinking we have a group head certified counseling agencies that we kind of communicate together, all 12 certified head counseling agencies. And so connecting this resource with them as they're doing housing counseling and prepping people for, home ownership possible or rental or however that housing discussion takes place. This is a really great tool to add to their toolkit. So, well as many other of our engagement coordinators or managers and stuff in the community. So, I don't know if you have time to address, is there any recorded, do you have any pre-recorded kind of seminars or workshops that we can send out? And or is this limited to just hospital? Can this extend to pharmacy or DME and et cetera? So.
Yeah, so I don't think we're in the very early stages of our involvement in terms of getting the word out and the pilot of connecting $4, El Sol, and ourselves. And so in terms of our own personal sort of webinars, this is, kind of the early stages. But $4 does have a really large breadth of resources available, recorded videos, flyers on the platform itself, which they're our core partner in this, and I know that they would be willing to share those. So it's a matter of seeing what they have available, and then we're happy to share it with the entire work group, because they've done their own presentations across the nation just on their platform specifically. In terms of flyers, marketing materials, however is easiest, Melanie, I'm happy to send them directly to you if you want to get them out to the different groups. I can also put my email in the chat as well if anybody wants to connect directly and reach out that way. I'm happy to share. And we're also happy to schedule anytime for any of those if they need to be in person or virtual, or in any sense, if you'd like us to present, we're happy to do so in other avenues or areas.
Great. So why don't you drop your information in, oh, perfect. You just did. So that way, if anyone has urgency to contact you or schedule, work with you directly, they can. Please feel free to do so. I'll include this in our next newsletter that's going out, kind of like a recap and I'll feature the $4.org website too. So that can get out to the larger collective group. Also.
Yeah, and if we can also include the El Sol / because that helps us with it being the unique portion, because $4 has their national site, but this will allow us to collect regional data. which
Perfect.
is part of our goal there too. Jay, I saw your question on the collection agencies. Again, one would think, that they might not be on board because it's less that we're sending to collections, but what we're finding actually is that those who we would be helping through financial assistance are almost 100% not paying. So the collection agencies are going after them. There's no response. They're not paying. So it's actually allowing the collection agencies to spend more time and effort with those who have the propensity to pay versus those who are unable to. And then sorry, I know there were other questions. Again, I'm happy to oh, sorry, Melly, can I address one other question?
Yeah, please do. That's okay. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see, Ayako, there's a question on if it's limited to hospitals. Great question. So I can't speak to the other hospital systems. I can speak to Loma Linda specifically. So this application will not direct, because you're absolutely right. A patient can come home both with a bill from the hospital as well as a bill from the physician group. For Loma Linda specifically, what this is going to do, and again, I don't know the policies across the board with different systems, but this application is only for the hospital bill. But once the hospital bill has been forgiven, basically that acceptance letter of forgiveness can also be sent to the faculty medical group for the physician bill, and they will honor it as well, eliminating both bills. That's the way that Loma Linda has decided to do it. Again, I don't know, other systems might do it differently, but basically the medical groups have decided that if the hospital did their due diligence and found that the person does qualify, they will also honor it and forgive it. Hopefully that answers your question there. And thank you all for your time on this. And again, happy to answer any other questions you may have, either directly or we'll make sure to get all those marketing materials to Melanie and team.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it. Both great topics today, and very different, but also very, very great. And I think essential parts to the work we do, and just really, truly being able to stabilize our housing, in the IE. So thank you again, Mark. So I know this meeting goes until 2:30. And during this portion, we like to provide time for our pillars to provide, updates, anything. And so I don't want to we do have 2 pillar chairs on here. If you guys want to provide an update or just some highlights or anything, you can. I'll give you some time. I'll start with the educate and advocate for public policy, provide a quick update of what we've been talking about and working on. And then we can transfer over to Ayako if you have an update, or Chris if you have any updates or highlights from either the wealth building or expansion housing solutions pillar. We can go there. I can help fill in too. So just real quick with our educate and advocate for public policy. Again, this is a monthly meeting that actually, sorry, Mark, could you stop sharing real quick? I think you're still sharing. And then that way we can.
Sorry, it doesn't look like I'm sharing. Let's see.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about
Thank
that.
you. No, it's okay. Thank you. So in our educate and advocate for public policy, we've been talking, we over the course of over the past couple months have evaluated various policies that have legislation that has dropped. Since then, actually a lot has been removed and isn't making it, has made it out of the House, but isn't making it out of the final House of origination. So the most important piece of policy that we are tracking or endorsing as a collective, endorsing is what was formerly ACA 1, then ACA 10, now is Prop 5, and is about the voter threshold. It's essentially a constitutional amendment which will allow for a housing bond instead of requiring a 2/3 majority vote for a housing bond to be approved. It would be just a majority, which would be 55%, right? So in the end, a local jurisdiction can vote to approve a housing bond with 55% and no longer 2/3 if passed, which makes it so that a smaller minority of folks can't squash the production and the work of housing being created in a local community. So that's really important. That's something we've been endorsing and been supporting last year and this year. I actually have some materials and information that will be coming out next week on probably Thursday, that I'll be sending out to folks just for your education and for you all to send on to, folks within your organization or even the customers or clients you serve, that we're really just trying to provide more information about this. It isn't a housing bond, it's just a change on how a housing bond can be approved locally. Next up, another piece of legislation that we're following is the Justice for Renters. The collective has not yet taken a position on this. It's been, I think, 3 or 4 month process or evaluation. We are going to be talking about this in our September meeting, but it's a hot topic. It's something that we're following. So if you wish to be a part of that discussion, the Justice for Renters, I think it's Prop 30. We're going to be talking that in more detail in our September meeting. So then what I'd like to do is, Ayako, do you have anything to add okay, go ahead.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mel and team, for a very informative session today. This is Ayako Utsumi with Mary Erickson Community Housing. I'm the vice chair of Inland SoCal Housing Collective. I also head up the expansion of housing solutions pillar. We meet the second Thursday of every month from 9 to 10 a.m. Second Thursday of the month, 9 to 10 a.m. If you'd like to know more about homeless housing opportunities and home ownership opportunities and researching new innovative types of housing methodologies or typologies, we'd welcome you to join us in our monthly discussion. Just a few highlights of what the committee has worked on. The past 6 months, or actually more, 9 months, we have attempted to help educate our community on the availability of mortgage relief funds from the state of California. This is a very generous grant program, up to $80,000, to help mortgage holders in distress related to COVID. For several years, it was undersubscribed, but finally, by about this time this year, it seems like all the funds have been spent. So that's good. But again, because of the slow rollout, we wanted to help get the word out. We did find, we did have a number of our head counselors who are on this call put a lot of time and effort into a Saturday in-person event, or some other types of in-person events spread around the IE, even high desert, low desert. And the in-person response was quite low, although we did have just a few successful applications where they were able to get the mortgage assistance. So going forward, we will reevaluate whether or not these sort of Friday, Saturday in-person mortgage assistance education programs are really a good use of our time and our partners' time. But we did learn from it. and we will continue to try to bring more resources for mortgage holders at risk. So please stay tuned for more information on that. We also wanted to highlight that, you know, with the state budget, we know many programs got cut, including affordable housing. But with the pushback of many people on this call and people all over the state government did end up adding back in hundreds of millions of dollars into housing. One will be HHAP, it's homeless housing. I'm sorry, I forget what the AP stands for, but anyway, it's encampment and homeless housing funds from the state. There will be a round 6. We thought round 5 was going to be the last. There will be a round 6. I heard it straight from HCD's mouth myself. And that RFP is coming out in January of 2025. And as you know, you need to be shovel ready, which means in August now, if you have a project that you're thinking of, but you just need funding for homeless people, either permanent supportive or even interim or shelter housing, now's the time to get your ducks in a row and get your application together, because the RFP will be coming out in January, you know, approximately January 2025. So we thought there wasn't going to be any more funding, but there will be now. So something to look forward to for, again, homeless housing.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Then we also have Mel is putting together a down payment assistance matrix so that we can get a sense of who in the IE is providing any kind of down payment assistance. Mel, do you want to just give a very brief update on where you are, the status of that?
Yes, I can. And I don't want to necessarily steal Chris's thunder too, because that's a part of the wealth building. So this is an activity that is coordinated between both these pillars, because we see the relevance in expanding housing solutions, opportunities as a part of a wealth building tool. So Chris, I could continue on, or if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no worries. You're the professional expert.
So Jay has been able to put together a survey that's been going out to, we've been testing it, and the survey is a tool that we are going to collect down payment assistance resources in the IE. The objective is to talk to our banks, our credit unions, our mortgage companies that have, or mostly our financial institutions that have products, internal products, down payment or closing costs that operate in the IE, put them together in a similar matrix like we have for our bank on of certified accounts, to have that in a hopeful tool. We also want to include like Cal Home, who has Cal Home in the area. What other, grant specific housing is in the IE and specific to the IE. So this is kind of a process that we've created a survey to collect that information that we want to send out to folks that we have a hunch of where we know there's opportunities. But we need you all to help with that. So if you know if there's an employer-based program, if there is something specific to a city or a certain region, anything in the IE, we're looking to collect this so that way it can be leveraged for the resident, but most importantly for our HUD certified counseling agencies who spend most of the time day-to-day counseling folks and don't have time to do this extensive research of the evolving products that happen in our region. So we're committed to doing this, to going back and asking folks maybe like once a year to update this information so it's relevant, and still understanding that it can be evolving. We know that there are similar tools, like I think it's down payment assistance resource website that exists out there. It's very broad. Our goal is to get to some place where we have a partner an individual that is that expert, maybe the lead MLO, a point of contact for each of these, so that way it can be a warmer handoff for folks. Fabian?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me, Mel?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to again just bring into account that a lot of the down payment assistance and first-time buyers are going to be deeply affected by the new commission law that came into effect technically on the 17th, which was on Sunday, but started to be practiced since the beginning of August. And we're seeing a lot of down payment assistance programs right now that are not offering, or shall I say the majority of down payment assistance programs do not offer their down payment assistance to be allocated to pay a buyer's commission in the event that the seller is not willing to pay any buyer's concession. And we have already seen that a number of properties that we would facilitate our first-time buyers with, we're just not able to even show them the properties because the seller is not willing to pay buyers concessions now. And that's definitely going to affect a lot of the first-time buyers, because regardless if they get the down payment assistance, if they don't have enough for the buyer's concession, meaning to pay the commission, it's going to be irrelevant. And we're already seeing that take into effect. One of the things that I've been talking to a couple of different organizations is how an actual MPHS, where it talks with that. I'm not speaking on the for MPHS. I'm just talking about conversations that we've had in the past, and hopefully either with MPHS or through other entities will come into fruition, is creating a fund to pay, up to at least $5,000 for buyer agents to represent these first-time buyers, be it in a forgivable grant or be it in a repayable. If it is a repayable, at $5,000, it would definitely have to be interest only, because it would be factored into the DTI and it may cause payment shock, as opposed to, or if we could actually get it deferred for 5 years, then it wouldn't be any payment shock because it would not be factored into the payment, which would not be factored into the DTI. But this is something that is present. We are already experiencing on the real estate mortgage side of it, and it's just started. So, when we're talking about down payment assistance and we're talking about all this other good stuff, it's all good. But the other piece that nobody's talking about, and I've been talking about this for a while, is that we better come up with a solution on that commission, because if not, all that down payment assistance is going to sit there. All the down payment assistant classes, the 8-hour HUD certificate class, are going to be empty. The one-on-ones are going to be empty. The counseling is going to be empty, because these buyers are not going to engage, because they're just going to give up. And we're already seeing a few buyers, at least personally, that said, Fabian, it's not even worth it to us anymore, because even the offers that we are submitting to sellers that are open to paying a buyer concession, they're getting multiple offers, because there's only a few property, well, not a few, but there's only a percentage of them. And all the other offers are coming in with not asking for anything, more so down payment assistance. So I think this is a conversation that really needs to be talked more about, because everything else is going to be secondary to this, and these buyers can't even qualify to buy a home based on that concession.
Yep. And Fabian, you have talked about this for quite some time, even when we saw this new piece, this new issue arising, whether this would go to fruition or not, right? So, I appreciate your forward thinking. I think this is something that it's been hard for us to do and to navigate. Like, do we create a pool? I think this is a great conversation to dig in and problem solve in a pillar discussion. But I know that I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of folks are going, this is going to be people are going to react to this, and this is going to be at the forefront and give us like 60 days, 3 months maybe. And this could drastically pivot on how we operate, and even grants and how banks, what grant programs they have currently, pivot and how they're offering that, and maybe change things up again because they aren't seeing those loans come to them.
Yeah, one of the areas that I would like to speak with banks moving forward is any nonprofits on the call that have sponsorships and foundation money from local either municipalities or government agencies, or even their banking partners, if they're willing to allocate a percentage of foundation money to this fund. How creative can we get? Where can we seek this money? Because the only bank out there right now that I'm aware of that has openly, publicly have said they can use their grant for down payment for the commission, the concessions, is Venmo. They have a $24,000 grant forgivable right at the close of escrow, and they're the only ones publicly that have said that you can use that grant to pay the commission or the buyer's concession. I have not heard of any other bank, and I'm talking probably in the last 2 months. I've spoken for Chase, Wells Fargo, B of A, U.S. Bank, Venmo. And out of those 5 banks in the last, let's say, 45 days that I've spoken with on a panel or through home buyer education, they are the only ones that said it publicly. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Actually, we do have a down payment assistance program. And in fact, Melanie, you talked to Julie Davis, who I introduced you to. And I'm going to send an email after this so that you can, as you create your matrix, our product can be included there.
Yeah, Rosina, this is Fabian. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Rosina, is your down payment assistance allowing for the buyer's concessions to be paid?
You know, I would prefer if Julie really talks to, and I'm trying to get her to be part of this coalition because she would be much more informed. As you know, my job is in the philanthropic side, and I don't want to
Correct.
overstep my my
Yeah.
boundaries. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
and
did,
that's yeah,
I
yeah,
did a
and that's
present. Oh,
go ahead.
I said I did a presentation with US Bank and they didn't say that. That's why I'm asking you. They could use the down payment assistance as a down payment assistance, of course, but they had no mention of using that for the buyer's concession. So I'm not saying that they don't have it, Rosalina. I'm just saying that when we did the presentation with them about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, they didn't mention anything about it.
So
Yeah.
I think this is a great conversation to start having, and the collective can start doing so. But I think it could be on everyone. You know, definitely it's going to be at the forefront for any banks or HUD certified counseling agencies who are counseling for home ownership. This is going to be a rising issue. But I want to pin this conversation for one of our pillar groups, and I'll talk to Ayako and Chris on where we want to place this. Because this is something that we can continue as we're looking for down payment to also simultaneously reach out to them and say, like, how are you thinking about this? How forward thinking? Are you prepared for this? What is this, you know? And so I think that unfortunately, everyone, we react, right? And so I think people are just waiting to see like 30 days, like how, you know, what do our numbers look like? How many people have we seen be able to utilize this? And then from there, kind of back themselves into like, oh, how are we going to respond? So I don't think that's a best practice. I'm not saying that's how business should be done, but I think that's kind of where we're at. So I see the next 2 months as being kind of like a crucial time for us to you know, lock arms with our financial institution or to our mortgage company, you know, those financial institutions who are lending to give recommendations on how they can still support buyers in this space, first time home buyers in this space.
Great. Okay, so since we have just 4 minutes left, I'm just going to briefly go through just a few more points, and we can take this conversation back up in more detail later. But again, just a parking lot item is transportation. Without high quality transportation, we don't qualify for many types of housing funding sources. So we are taking a look at that. How do we become more competitive there? We've also, another funding source for potentially homeless housing is Prop 1. That's the mental health fund. So again, more detail coming on that later. Also, Housing First. We are taking a closer look at sober living only housing funded with public dollars, and more information on that coming. And then also, Yes in God's Backyard, SB4, how can we help houses of faith and schools use their land in the highest and best use, especially around affordable housing, and more info to come on that later. Thanks, Mel.
Well, thank you, everyone. At this point, I think I'm gonna just transition into closing the meeting, just because I don't think we have, 3 minutes, and I know folks have already started to drop off and to transfer into their next meeting or activity. So I just want to thank you guys for attending, for always being very participatory and active. I hope that today's presenters brought in some very helpful information. I know it was for me. So thank you guys. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Coral Reef team. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you guys next month. If you want to get plugged into a pillar meeting, just feel free to reach out to me and I can get you connected. Take care.
All right,
Take care. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.